Hello, this is Dr. Marge Maxwell again to discuss Module 2 with LITE 535 students in the fall 2026 semester. So let's look at it together. So you just click on the module anywhere in that big box, and then what's under the folder will come down. We'll look first at the overview. In this module, you learn about Bloom's taxonomy and begin creating activities for your upcoming IDP. Here's the objective. These are videos and documents that you need to read or view, and you are submitting one thing this time. You're submitting your completed revised Bloom's taxonomy activity worksheet by Sunday, September 20th, really by midnight. Note, you are only designing 12 activities that's 2 per Bloom's level. It's not 2 activities for all 19 sublevels. I say this because many times I have students to create activities for all of the levels. And some of them say, oh, I didn't realize that. But some of them actually say, well, I really meant to do that. I wanted to get your feedback. I wanted to make sure I really understand this. So just to let you know, however many you turn in, I will read and I will give you feedback on all of them. So let's look at the documents that we have. Designing instruction using revised Bloom's taxonomy. This is a teaching document about Bloom's taxonomy. The remember, understand, and apply levels are considered lower level thinking. The analyze, evaluate, and create are considered higher level thinking. So when we say the content objective in your IDP must be higher level thinking, it must be that your students are required to think at either the analyze, evaluate, or create levels. Okay, so this document goes through and gives a definition for all of the 6 levels and the cognitive structures under each one. So you have the remember level, which is just retrieving relevant information from long-term memory. There is a difference in recognizing and recalling. And so it gives you a definition about the cognitive structure and some examples of activities. The understand level is constructing meaning from instructional messages, whether they are oral, written, or graphic. More about that one. You have 7 cognitive structures in the understand level, okay? Each one gives you a definition and an example. The 3rd level is apply. That is where you carry out or use a procedure. So it must be that students do some kind of procedure. They're applying knowledge, and that's still considered lower level thinking. So you have 2 cognitive structures, executing and implementing. Now we start the higher level thinking. Level 4 is analyze, where you break material into constituent parts and determine how the parts relate to one another and an overall structure. Okay, you have differentiation, organizing, and attributing. Okay, so it tells you in the definition the difference in differentiation and organizing. And then attributing is determining a point of view, a bias, value, or or the intent underlying presented material. Level 5 is evaluate. You're making judgments based on criteria and standards. So there's some criteria or some standard by which students are making judgments. So you've got to provide some kind of standard. It could be a rubric, it could be a checklist, it could be any set of standards that they're making a judgment about something. All right, and you have two cognitive structures, checking and critiquing. Level 6, put together elements to form a coherent or functional whole. So actually creating something. More information. And there are 3 cognitive structures: generating original alternative hypotheses, planning, you're designing some original detailed procedure, like submitting a plan for the landfill, or submitting an original business plan. I've had many students do that. Producing, inventing an original product or new knowledge, something that doesn't exist. Build an original habitat for an original animal that you created. Okay, let's go look at the next one. Now here's a chart that I would highly recommend that you print. In fact, I used to print it on cardstock front and back and laminate it to give to students when I taught in person. This will be very helpful to you to print. So it gives each one of the levels and their corresponding cognitive structures, and then gives you ideas of the types of questions you can ask, like understand, interpreting. Can you say that in a different way? Clarify or paraphrase what this means. Define in your own words, blah, whatever the topic is. So this gives you really good ideas of the types of questions, the types of activities you can design at these levels of thinking. So you, of course, want to look on the second page where you have analyze, evaluate, and create. Again, gives you some question starters or ideas for activities. Okay? I would highly suggest printing this page, these 2 pages. All right, here's an exemplar. Okay, so it's the worksheet that you have and gives an example here on a topic. Okay, remember, you're only required to do 2 per level of the 6 levels of Bloom's, and they cannot be in the same cognitive structure. Okay, so you can't do 2 organizing and 2 attributing. They have to be in a different cognitive structure. And here's your worksheet with the directions. And this is your rubric for this assignment. All right, so here's your worksheet that you put your name, authentic topic, and your grade level. Remember that you will use one of your activities in either at the analyze, evaluate, or create for your instructional design project later in this course. Review the Bloom's taxonomy module we just looked at. You're going to create 2 activities or assessments for each of the 6 levels on your authentic topic. Do not create two activities in the same cognitive structure or process. You're only creating 12 activities total. Each activity should stand on its own. That is, do not build one activity from another. Okay, if you have students doing one thing, then you don't continue that in the next question. Each question should stand on its own. They should be written as prompts for students, not as objectives. All activities must be about your approved authentic topic that you selected for your IDP. Highlight one of your activities that you design at the either analyze, evaluate, or create level that you think you would like to use to build your IDP lesson around. Okay? So you just highlight one of them. I think I can use this one and create a whole lesson on it. I will give you feedback on that as well. I think that's a good selection. Or you might look at the one you designed for 4.2 or something like that. So I'll give you feedback. At least one activity for all levels must involve students using or creating with technology. So you're creating 2 for each level. At least one of them must involve students using technology. Now you're going to be typing in this file right here. Okay, so you're going to have to be sure to download this file right here. Bloom's level, remember, only has 2 cognitive processes, so you'll have to do both of these. Understand has 7, so you just only do one activity for 2 of these processes on your topic. Same for apply, there's only 2 levels, 2 cognitive processes, so you have to do one for each. Remember, they're carrying out a procedure. Okay. Analyze, there are 3 cognitive processes, so you are designing only 2 activities. You can do differentiation and organizing and not attributing, or you can do organizing and attributing. So that is up to you. Evaluate only has 2 cognitive processes, so you will have to create an activity for each one. 6 has 3 cognitive processes, so you will do an activity for only 2 of them. Once you've designed all of your higher level thinking activities, go back and look at them and really think about them. And okay, for this one, 5.1, the activity I really think I could develop a really good lesson around that. I have a good piece of software that I think students can create, blah, 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 for my lesson. I think I want to use that one. So highlight it to indicate to me that you want to use that one for your IDP. All right, let's go look at the scoring rubric on how I will score you on this assignment. All right, so distinguished is 90 to 100%. Activity clarity, alignment with the Bloom's level. There are sometimes the question or the prompt that you put really doesn't fit that, so I'm probably going to ask you to revise it. Variety of activities, creativity and engagement, how engaged are the students, and the use of technology. Was one of your activities at each level, did it require students to use technology? Okay. And then this is where you submit it. You can upload your file here. The file that you downloaded was Microsoft Word. If you needed to have put that in Google Docs or Apple Pages or whatever word processor you use, you need to act accordingly. If you use Google Docs, do not forget that you have to change the share characteristics, like share, right here's a, like say the syllabus share. You decide right here, anyone with the link. Now I will need editor uh, level access. If you want, so what you could do is put me, Marge, here's my email, marge.maxwell@gmail.com. You could add me and give me editor rights. That way I can make comments for you. Okay. If it's a Word document, I will make comments and send it back to you. Okay, and that concludes Module 2. Have a wonderful week. Feel free to ask me questions anytime. You can text or email me that I want to talk about this with you, and I will be very happy to. You can even email me your work or partial work, and I'll give you feedback through your email. So I am here and available for you. So enjoy your blooms.